Hi, I am Simon of Moonstar Board Games. In this series, I like to look at games which I have really enjoyed, I even loved, and either reminisce or discuss why I actively feel that way. This is not a how to play these games. This is a very high level, unscripted overview of my particular thoughts about a particular game. And if you are, or if you find what I have to say interesting, I would encourage you to go watch a how to play instructional as to how to play these games, and then hopefully pick it up for yourself and support a board game publisher who's just trying to bring happiness and fun to this world. So today I am going to talk a little bit about Detective, modern crime board game. I've spoken about Chronicles of Crime in a previous edition of this series. Detective, a modern crime board game, which is by Portal Games and is it Ignacy? Yeah, Ignacy Trevishik, um, of Portal Games fame, is the designer of this game. Uh, and it is similar to Chronicles of Crime or Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective or the Cthulhu game. I forget what it's called. Shoot. It is a detective deduction game. You will be playing a detective being walked through a crime, and you need to utilize what the game is giving you in order to figure out who or what or why the crime has been committed. Now, it's important to note that unlike Chronicles of Crime or Sherlock Holmes, this is much more of a campaign style game. I have the base set with all the cases, and I have the LA Crimes expansion. I think there might have been another expansion. I think I picked up a case that was just by itself, like an introductory case. I think it came as a promo at some point. Um, I cannot remember. It's been a little while. I played this solo during COVID, and I played it from basically from start to finish over the course of a week. I really enjoyed this game. Um, Unlike other games of this ilk, this is more of a resource management style game. It's got some Euro elements where you're managing tokens, you're managing the ability to do certain things, and you will be utilizing a literal web based database in order to decide or in order to figure out which cards and which card numbers you can go to get more information in the game. So, for instance, this is case one of five, I think, five in the base game. So it's a 5 game anthology. Each of the cases can be played individually, but it's overall telling an overriding story. Um, these cards, and I don't want to spoil anything, will have these numbers on the back of them. And as you go through these cards, they will unlock new cards that you can maybe look at. They will unlock things that you can search for on the web based police alike database in order to figure out more information about the nature of the crime. I will say that this is a more involved process than Chronicles of Crime. In Chronicles of Crime, everything that you need in order to complete a scenario is in the game. In Detective, you will be doing more police work. You might be taking the map. You might there is a map on one of it's on the website. I'm pretty sure you can if it's in LA, you can look at a map of LA and figure out how long it takes to drive somewhere, and that might have real consequences on what cards are available to you or how you deduce whether or not someone could have driven there in that time. Does their alibi check out? Is it possible to do what they're saying, and so are they lying? And why might they be lying, etc., etc. In the game, you will be taking you'll be actually playing a detective, right? You'll be playing one of 5 detectives. I don't think I would recommend playing this game with more than 2 players ever, to be quite frank. But you'll be playing a detective, and each detective has a specific ability which allows them to do something a little bit more effectively than other detectives. So, whilst the cases are linear, you might have different ways to go about coming to the solution as a result of your particular detective's ability. And a lot of these abilities do correlate to the spending of tokens, the resources that you need in order to be able to question people, in order to get things done on time, so that you don't miss the opportunity to question a detective or something like that. The base game of Detective, I can't really spoil too much about it, but it's set kind of modern day. And if you think of like not old school Sherlock Holmes, but Sherlock Holmes the TV show with Benedict Cumberbatch, it feels a lot like that. It feels like it has that kind of like modern day feeling, whereas the LA crimes, I think it's set in the 1980s in LA, and so it has a very the police database you go to looks like an old computer. You know what I mean? Like it's like a Windows 3.1 operating system computer. It's very very cool. The is it Antares? Yeah, Antares. Man, it's been a while since I played it, but I still remember because I loved it. In the base game, you'll be playing with Antares, and this is the website. And you'll be going in and you'll be searching for people's names that come up in the cards that you are afforded access to by going through the game. You'll be able to look up evidence, pieces of evidence, and pick out who might be a suspect, who is not. You'll be able to match DNA, right? If you find a card that has, for instance, it might say that this is the knife, right? This is a knife that was used to kill um, someone. Well, then you can do a search. You can go to a part of the town. You can go to the lab, right, and get DNA taken. Then maybe go to headquarters to see if you can do a match of the DNA that was taken from the knife to someone that you've already spoken to already. And of course, doing these things comes with an efficiency problem. It might take time. You'll notice that there is literal time, and it takes time to do things. And you'll be given a challenge within each scenario of this is how long, this is how much time you have to complete or to solve this case. So there is a restriction in the amount of questions you can ask. So you still have to pick and choose, right? And so similarly to any other game of this ilk, there may be times when you play a case of Detective a modern crime board game, sorry, where you feel like, I just lost that because I didn't think to do this one thing. You know what I mean? As a result of not doing that one thing, then I couldn't do the rest of it, and I feel like that clue was really obscure, or the leap in logic to go from having this clue to thinking that I can use it this way was a little bit too much. Because Detective is a more police police feeling type of game, it does open itself up to those problems in a little greater. It has more capacity to open itself up to those problems. I can't remember exactly which case it was, but I do remember something came up about something in Germany, for instance, on one of the cards. And so I looked on Google and I searched up this thing in German to figure out what it was, and it came up with more. It came up with a piece of information which told me more about what I needed to do moving forward. If you don't think to yourself, well, I've seen something German, let's do Google Translate. Well, you can feel like that's kind of not bullshit, but you can feel like, man, how was I supposed to know to do that? Those kinds of situations can come up in this game more frequently than others, but if you put in the time and you really do the thinking, I think this game has a larger opportunity to give you that feel good moment of you solved the crime. Not that the game held your hand and walked you to the crime. No, this game doesn't hold your hand, and as a result, when you get to the solution, you feel like you earned it, not that it was just the necessary result of playing the game, which can sometimes feel that way for other games. So this game, it can, I think, suffer the same problems as like Sherlock Holmes Consult Detective as a result of that. But if you're into that kind of thing, which I am, I really am, then I really do think you will enjoy this game a lot. If I remember rightly, when the game first came out in pre-order, um, it gave you. I don't have it. In fact, actually, that's the one thing I really wanted to get it for you when I was playing it, but I didn't get it in the end. You can get. I think you probably can still get it on Portal Games website. Don't quote me on it. You could get little pictures, right? Little Polaroid pictures, cardboard Polaroid pictures, which you could like might have a cork map or a cork board here where I can pin things in. You could do that. You could literally have that experience of the 4 a.m. having a cigarette detective looking at his board of suspects and all the pins and all the things going to each other. You can have that experience in this game if you accept that that's what you're after, right? And or not accept, if you agree with that's what this game is going to give you, I think you'll have an amazing time. I like the base campaign, but do know that the base campaign is like 5 cases, so it's not really a one and done. LA Crimes is a little bit better. I think, if I remember rightly, it's still an overarching campaign, but instead of 5, it's 3 cases. So you have 3 different cases to work through before you have finished the campaign. It is like all these games. Once you've played it, you've seen everything that it has. I have not been holding this at all this time, so I apologize if I am now loud again. Uh, but if you want that long, involved mystery and you want to apply yourself into thinking about all the different ways that you can solve this crime, if you want to feel like a detective, I don't think there is a game that does that better than Detective, a modern crime board game. You feel like a detective playing this game, and the game expects you to think like one and to kind of act like one, which is a very, very cool thing to go through. It's great for role playing. Like, I feel like you could probably play this in a group, but you would be trying to role play. Um, for me, I played it solo. Uh, I would maybe play it with one other person. I don't think I'd play it with multiple people. There's just so much going on. There's so many things that you have access to. There's so many opportunities to figure things out that I feel like, for me personally, too many cooks would maybe spoil the broth. But playing it with one person where you're both, you got your partner and you're both trying to figure it out and you're looking at maps and you're figuring out times and all that good stuff, then I think you can have an amazing time playing detective. If you've never played these games before, start with Chronicles of Crime. Don't start with Detective. I would not say that. But once you've played Chronicles of Crime and you're itching for a little bit more of an adult experience, then Detective, a modern crime board game, is still an amazing game. It really is. Okay, thank you.